My name is Julie Kraft and I have bipolar 2 disorder.
I'm Shaley Hoogendoorn and I live with bipolar 2 disorder.
I was diagnosed 10 years ago at the age of 36.
I was told of my diagnosis and I remember being relieved but also terrified. I know the perceptions and the stigma that goes along with it. I started sharing my story about 4 or 5 years ago.
I decided to come forward and start sharing. It's led to me meeting the most amazing people walking the same path.
So we had talked about collaborating. My greatest hope is that others will hear our stories and feel less alone.
We can offer insight and give the world a real life living example of what bipolar disorder can look like.
This is bipolar.
This is bipolar.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Shaley Hoogendoorn and I have my most spectacular co-host with me.
And I'm Julie Kraft, fiery, passionate mental health advocate along with Shaley. If you're just tuning in, we are mental health advocates living with bipolar 2 disorder. Just so excited to be sharing our journeys and connecting with this community. So we're super excited about this episode today. It's a very positive, happy episode.
And real.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
And just because I think we're really pumped to do it right now. For some background, we are recording 2 episodes in one day. So we just did the hard what not to say and do.
Yeah.
So that felt so beautiful and healing for us, but it's really nice for us to work on this one because I feel like we can give even more hope about how to show up for each other. And the most exciting thing is also reading some of the questions, and we'll do this at the end. We ask the questions to our followers and the answers will make you cry. We encourage you, if this was encouraging or if you found it helpful, I think that your people that love you would appreciate hearing it. And maybe it's easier to hear it from the two of us than maybe saying it. So and feel free to have your loved ones message. I always answer the Instagram messages, or Julie's on the YouTube. If you have, I sounded so old there. The YouTube.
The YouTube.
Sorry.
I am pumped for this episode because there are so many things that can be said and done, even the tiniest things that can make such a difference if you are someone living alongside someone with a mental health struggle, or you have a friend that maybe even has the same diagnosis. And so the previous episode was a harder one to film, but this one we're so thankful for the participation. I think we asked for feedback from our community, and it's amazing. So many of the responses resonate with both Shaley and I. So
our community is my favorite. So shout out, we love you. These are wonderful, wonderful things to say. And this is not to take away from, if you're someone that has never heard these words, I hope you let them wash over you, because you deserve to be spoken to this way and to be taken care of. So we might have to say some of the what not to say, and then say the opposite thing, or the positive thing. We might have to do a little bit of back and forth if someone's just tuning in, or to remind ourselves.
That's a great idea.
So here we go. Before we get into everybody else's beautiful ideas, we wanted to share some of our stories, because we love stories. And so I would love to hear, Julie, right after your diagnosis, or even, I know you've shared that you didn't share with more than probably your husband right after, but then the 4 years later, you put out a video to the entire world. That was
I did.
Experience. I love it. What were the most, let's talk about the most helpful things people did. And then when we get to your video, things people said, and it doesn't have to be right away.
Yeah.
But I might talk about the progression of things, my needs changing.
Yeah, for sure. So I was diagnosed in the spring of 2010, had all the feelings about my diagnosis and didn't think I was really going to share it with anyone. And I think there was so much stigma and I was so afraid of the reactions of people. I assumed they would back away. I assumed, they would put distance between me and them. I assumed they would look at me differently. And so some of the most amazing responses, and I'm going to try to get through this episode without tearing up, but as you know, it happens a lot, but this is an emotional one. But my brother-in-law, so at the very beginning, I did share with my closest family and friends, and I just remember my brother-in-law. He knows who he is.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. He just sort of, there was no judgment. I didn't in any way feel like he was looking at me different. And he kind of just said, without saying it, we noticed that you were struggling and we love you just the same. And this isn't a shock or a surprise, which I didn't take offense to. I just felt this incredible warmth and unconditional love and acceptance because I think I was so fearful. It was fine to tell a stranger, down the road that I had bipolar, but when it gets to the people closest to you, I think there's more fear because that relationship is much more meaningful. And I just was so worried that he would, look at me as if I had shamed the family or, how was I treating his brother? And it was the opposite. And he has been just such a cheerleader. I mean, so many people have, but I remember his reaction of just love and warmth and acceptance. And then, along the road, I came forward 4 years after my diagnosis to the world. Once again, so many people were so kind, but there's one friend and she knows who she is. And I didn't meet her till later on, just a few years back. And I didn't actually show her my video. I think she had found it on her own and we went for coffee. And she just looked at me and she said, I saw your video. And there's that moment for any of us that have bipolar, there's always that moment. If you ever tell someone there's that, 10 seconds that feels like a lifetime where you're just not sure, has their opinion of you changed? And so I kind of did a big gulp and I said, uh-huh. And I said, what did you think? And she said, didn't even faze me. There was such a feeling of comfort. And I mean, she's a close friend to this day, but those two reactions have stuck out in my mind. And then after I did come forward, and I also wrote a memoir where I really went into detail about sort of how I think and some of the specific things that stress me out. One of them being driving, going to a new place, parking. I was meeting a friend for coffee and she had read my book and she sent me a detailed email right down to the streets where we were meeting, where it was located in the city, the best and fastest route to get there, and what the parking situation was. And for anyone else looking at that email, they would think, oh my goodness, is she, not a grown adult? Can she not figure this out? But to have that detail, it just spoke volumes to me that she heard my story. She heard the things that are hard for me. She listened to those and she went that extra mile to make me feel comfortable. And when people do that, it gives you a sense of safety and security. You feel understood. And I didn't feel in any way that, she was treating me like a child. That whole email just oozed with, I care about you and I've listened to you and this is the result of that. And so those are a few of the moments along my journey that have really stuck out and really been they've really been things that have, been so helpful. And now it's your turn.
Yeah. And I'll just to bring that point home, we talked about in the last episode about, not doing what you think. And I think that beautiful moment with your friend is that she heard your needs, and she looked beyond what she thought was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if she might have, some people think, what's the big deal kind of thing.
Yeah.
I Yeah, I don't think it's as intense, but I think until I met you, I never really admitted the driving, the driving thing, but mine's the parking thing, right? Because I can't parallel park if anyone's
Me
watching,
neither.
which basically means you can't parallel park, especially in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm the same.
yeah, and friends that just have no problem. Like, I love friends now that they know that we might park 5 blocks away if there's your parking spot. They don't care at all. But I would be so afraid to ask or be like, just so you know, or whatever. Or if they tell me, the parking thing, tell me where to park, and
Yeah.
definitely helpful. I think so. Immediately after, and this has to do with knowing your person as well. For those of you that know what love languages are, it's the way you receive love. Mine are words of encouragement, but also like gifts or little thoughtful things. And I had friends do practical things, but I also remember 3 friends that I really felt seen by. And one of them, who also speaks regularly and talks about mental health, and I can even say her name, my friend Lelania. She sent me a note, and she had a little vase of roses, and it said, I don't even remember what it said, but I know she ended it with your sister in mental illness, Lily. And just knowing her and knowing that, seeing how she was like living beautifully her best through her struggles gave me hope. And in fact, I use that all the time now, Sisters in Mental Illness. And in fact, some vlog episodes and things that I did with She Loves Magazine, I actually called it Sisters in Mental Illness because I interviewed all women.
Yeah.
So that, and again, my friend Laura, she now doesn't live here, and she knows that sometimes words are less, and she was so far away. We were like totally into, I'm going to age myself, scrapbooking, like scrapbooking. She is the most creative person I know, and she sent me cards.
Aww.
And then now, even when I'm feeling down or when I was stuck in quarantine, she now, we encouraged her for years because she's so creative to make things, and she now makes these jewelry. And if you're listening,
beautiful,
you're gonna have to go look, but it's called Flourish Stoneware. But anyways, I wear them almost every day or every episode, but she makes things out of ceramics, and it'll just like randomly, not near a birthday or anything like that, just show up. Thinking of you, or this color reminded me of you, or beautiful. And so those things were really, really beautiful. I also, friends that knew me, knew that it would be hard for me to be alone during these times, but I didn't know how to, like, there was this weird time where I didn't, because I was away for the 8 days at residential treatment center, coming off one med, going on another. It wasn't a psych ward, but it was like this really amazing place that you can go, like transitioning kind of thing. And I went there, and then when I was coming home, well, first of all, I had people visit, which was lovely. But then I came home, and I think they just knew I didn't know how to transition back into my life. Do you know what I mean? Like outside of my home. I was just in my house. My mom was there helping my husband with the kids, yada, yada. And I didn't know how to like go back into the world again. And I was, overthinking it and just making it such a big deal that I felt paralyzed about it. And so a friend messaged me and is just like, I have some errands to run, and I would love if you could keep me company. No expectations. We don't even need to talk if you do, I'd just love for you to tag along.
Yeah.
And we literally, she's like, and I could be there in about half an hour. No pressure, let me know.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that are in a depression or whatever, that would be really hard, but she knew me. Yeah. Like Julie's like sweating. I don't want to
there. Never in a million years.
But for me, and this is like finding out what people need.
Yeah.
That was like an introduction back into, I didn't have to have like all the girlfriends over. I didn't have to be like this debut of bipolar Shaley, who was the same, but just struggling. And we literally went to Costco and like regular things. And it was such a gift because I felt normal. And another one, I have beautiful people in my life. Another one was, this was before I was diagnosed, but it was right after my breakup of my engagement. I had a prior engagement. Listened to another episode about how that rocked my world and terrible. We had gone to university together and she didn't return that year, and she knew that I was barely like surviving. I went to my university classes and then spent the rest of the time in bed at my mom's house, and with her not leaving the house. I didn't want to be alone. So a lot of people show up in the beginning, but it's long term, right? This friend, I got a card, and it was these cards with like these beautiful like poems on them, and they were also like sparkly, like very artsy, bigger, like the good cards, the pricey cards.
The expensive ones.
Not that mattered, but I literally got one every week for 2 months. And I felt so seen because you feel like you should be over it. And a lot of people, you feel their expectation, right? I've said before, I feel like sometimes I was on one side of the prayer list and I should get to the other, or there's this destination. And I just felt like she honored that this would be an ongoing thing for me. And that it wasn't an expectation to snap out of it. And it just gave me permission, because I was grieving what I thought my life was going to be like, right? Same with when I found out that I was bipolar. So those are beautiful things then. Do you have any recent ones, or in the last little while?
Just so many. Even as you were speaking, my mind, and I know our minds sometimes are working a mile a minute, but they come at the most unexpected times. I just met someone new a few weeks ago and let her know that I have bipolar, and she knows that I'm a woman of faith, and so she immediately just wanted to talk to me about stigma within the church and medication. And I've been open with my bipolar journey for years now, so I was thrilled that she took the time and the interest to just dive into it with me. And I thought, a lot of people, I'll let them know, and then I don't hear a peep. It never comes up. Also, when people, even though I might appear, when I'm out and about to be doing great or fine, or I have a smile, for someone to take me aside and go, how are you doing? How are you really doing?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they really, really care. I just think it's beautiful that you got those cards, because I just think about having something tangible that you can look back at and reread, but I also really, really love it when people ask me questions about my disorder and what are my struggles? What makes me anxious? Because they're taking an interest in making that investment to actually find out and understand how a bipolar brain works. It's a mystery to so many people. So, and I don't know if people think that we don't like to talk about it, or if it's this big taboo subject, but I love nothing more than to answer questions about my bipolar. I wonder, I think it's getting to be a more familiar topic and there's less stigma surrounding it. But, I've also met a few other people recently, and, they know I have bipolar, but there hasn't been a peep about it. Not that I need them to, dive into a 3-hour session on bipolar, but I just wonder if maybe it never comes up because they're uncomfortable. I also love it when I hear from someone and they just take the pressure off of me having to respond. Sometimes when I'm not doing well, emails and texts and phone calls can pile up and just be overwhelming. And I can feel shame and guilt. And why can't I keep on top of things? And so to get a message from someone that says, I'm thinking about you. Don't worry about writing me an essay back. I just wanted you to know that I love you. I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. No expectation. There's just so much safety in that. And since coming forward and sharing, I really have found that the more I open up and explain to people how I'm wired, the more comfortable I feel, the more the relationships in my life now are just so much more authentic than they were before, when I was wearing a mask and pretending like I had things together. And people are amazing if you say, you know what, I'm a hot mess today. And sometimes we'll get on and do a planning session and I'll just, straight up say, Shaley, I'm having a really hard time today. And the comfort in just being able to be real and having people see you, and not run away is huge. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'll give you a chance to maybe share a few more things that people have said or done that have just really made such a positive impact and been helpful to you.
Yeah, I love what you said about, I like to talk about it too. I think it's important to ask people because some people aren't ready, but I think it breaks the ice. And there's actually even, everyone likes talking about themselves in some way. And I used to feel like, like there's something wrong with me, or I was braggy, or how much I like to talk. A lot of it has to do with like hypomania too, thinking I talk too much. But I actually heard some research, and I'm not like a sciencey person, so I might not get it right. So you might want to Google it before you tell anybody else. But it was just something about how when we share, and this is like not just talking about like your favorite color or whatever, but like when we really share parts of ourselves, and are vulnerable, it actually lights up parts of your brain or gives you synapses, like as if you had like a drug, or like it's like a shot of serotonin, which is your happy chemical or whatever. So I loved hearing that because I'm like, oh, okay. It's not that bad that I like to share my story. And when people actually ask about symptoms and things like that, I remember the first time and I was like, like it's this deeper level of care, right? They care what you experience instead of just assuming what you experience. Another thing that really, really means a lot to me is just spending time with me. And just, we don't have to go out or anything fancy, but just if you see me retreating, to me, that's what works. And that's how people that have figured me out know that, like, let's just sit and watch a movie and not talk. Or like I said, like, can I just follow you, like come to Costco with you, or run errands when I'm stuck in my head, because it kind of jolts me out, or just like talk to me on the phone. Another thing is too, is we all have negative tapes that run in our heads, right? And one of mine is that I'm annoying, or that I'm a clingy friend, or that I talk too much, and those kind of things. And I want to tell you guys about something really cool. I have a lot of introverted friends, so I always feel like, even though they tell me 5 million times they're amazing, that I don't annoy them, I still feel like I do. And this is an ongoing thing that I'm working on dismantling, but we have found different ways. So say I write them this super long thing, the close ones, I no longer expect them to answer right away, and I won't think they hate me. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. We have a thing where we send like a purple heart, and that means I've read it. I can't respond right now. I love you. I see you. And then they respond when they have time. And we have a WhatsApp group. There's a few of us that like that. And then also, I found this, if you're someone, and especially during hypomania, it helps, or if you're someone that doesn't journal and you just need to brain dump or talk to someone. And when I'm hypomanic, I lose my train of thought and I feel all frustrated. But this app is called Marco Polo. And what it is you video, you talk the whole time, right? They get it. Then they, especially for my people in different time zones, they get it. And then they respond when they can. And then I just feel a relief, like, you know, that relief when you're struggling and you just tell even just one person, like whether it be your partner, friend, family member, whatever, it never ceases to amaze me because it's so little. It never seems to, when there's someone who you know is listening and cares about you, just speaking it aloud or writing it in a text, how just it's still there, but just a little lighter, right? You're just a little lighter. I would love to transition now into actual, like, tangible things that you can say that people want to hear. And I want to preface that by saying sometimes no words are what you can say, right?
That's what I was going to say.
Tell us.
The actual, and you know, I'm guilty of doing the opposite, but I used to make it so complicated and I used to get awkward and overthink what I was going to say. And I think one of the most important messages of this entire episode is sometimes we don't want to hear anything. We don't want to even hear solutions. We just want people to listen. We just want to feel heard. We just want to feel validated. So even if you sit with us and say nothing, or, you know, that is the most meaningful thing of all.
Eventually, if we're close, you can ask me if we want to figure out solutions together, not like, can I tell you what to do? Like, are you ready for solutions together? Or do you want to talk out your options? Or do you want me, you know, some people, do you want me to advocate for you? Like some people that can't get to the doctor, like I can drive you, or like you can barely get there. So then if someone was actually, you know, helping you, you might not cancel. And I think the number one thing you can say if you're awkward or stuck, and it's better than giving off some, you know, toxic positivity or something I think is encouraging, is just say, you know, I don't know what to say, or but you know, but I want to be there for you, or you know, I hope I'm not going to say the right thing, so I hope this comes in love. Or sometimes a friend and I went to like an Indigenous talk and ceremony, and talking about land acknowledgements and just how they would introduce themselves from the lands they come from. And one thing that one woman had said, she says, I always say I come with a good heart. And so it felt really ridiculous, but I know sometimes when I'm entering into hard conversations and not sure I'm going to say the right thing, but want to try anyways, I'll say, I hope you know I come with a good heart.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to be talking about some of these things we can say, because I think a lot of times people, out of feeling awkward or not knowing what to say, they don't say anything, but they don't come near us. And then we mistake their absence or silence as not caring. And it's nothing but the opposite. They just are having a hard time finding the words. So you are so fantastic. And I know just from personal experience. So I would love for you to share a few more just phrases or things that have meant a lot to you, things like actual phrases that people can come back with if someone has just shared a really tough thing with them.
We've heard over and over, like acknowledging, like that sounds like it's so hard for you, or that's really hard for you. And I know one that really touches me is, I'm so sorry you're going through that, or I'm so sorry that happened to you. I hear you, you know, tell me more. Or I think, I say a lot to people, that sounds so hard. It sounds so hard. And then sometimes I used to feel like I had to say something at the end. I think too, one of the things I've learned from someone in a workshop or something is also just like if you're just trying to approach, like everything is so overwhelming, or you're so sad, or maybe you're someone that has suicidal ideation or thoughts, it's so overwhelming to say, how are you? We're trained to say fine or whatever.
Yeah.
But I know it's really helpful to say, you know, how are you this morning? Or how are you today? Or how was your week? It depends how you're doing. That's pretty long.
Yeah.
But it gives you an opportunity, right? Because I feel like if I say, oh, I'm not doing well, when they say, how are you doing? They might think I'm never well,
Yeah.
or whatever. It gives a focus of the day. I know that my close friends too, when I shared that, after they say things like, it's hard, you know, that sounds hard, or I'm so sorry, or, you know, yeah, those things. One of the things one of my friends says too is, you know, is there anything I can help you do to take care of yourself?
Yeah.
Right. Or, you know, they know certain things about me. You know, I remember the first time somebody looked into my eyes, my friend, and she's like, what do you need in this moment? Or what do you need right now? And I was like, I don't know if anybody's asked me that before.
Aww. And I know we touched on this in our previous episode, just when it comes to tangible ways to help. I think it's okay for us to articulate specific needs. Because, you know, sometimes people will say, you know, let me know if you need anything. I'm thinking of you. And we had shared that a lot of times that's hard for us. But I think, you know, for me, I've been able to open up and be more specific and share with people exactly what I struggle with so that they can better help me and actually go the step further and say,
Yeah.
can I do your groceries this week? And then the other thing we also talked about was the fact that it's very helpful sometimes to just drop and go without expecting a conversation, without
No need to come
expecting
to the door.
no need to come to the door, without expecting a huge thank you note sent, you know, in the mail, because that can be really hard for us. And it might
Emotionally
even stop us
exhausting.
from accepting a casserole at the door if we know that there will be some extra strings attached to it. So, you know, that's just one example for me, the groceries, but also I used to get overwhelmed by picking up my kids at school.
Yeah.
And so to have a friend, you know, can I grab the kids at school, or can I take your kids for a play date to give you a few extra hours? That means the world to me. That, you know, and that is sort of speaking my love language when it comes to reducing stress or anxiety. Are there any examples of things that some of your friends maybe know about you and
Yeah.
can offer to help in a very specific way?
Yeah. So, to piggyback on what you're saying too, is that sometimes you don't know. So that's actually helpful too, because I've been like, I don't know. And then either offer some things, or they say, you know, think about it. I'll message you in a couple days. And I've said before to someone, these are the things I'm good at. I'll be like, I'm not so good at making meals, but I could do your shopping. I could take your kids. You know, do you have a favorite blank drink? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes giving them time, because some people don't need. And not only are you giving me the gift of doing the thing, right? You're showing, you tell me you're coming back. It's not a one-time thing. And also you're actually giving me time, not just time, but reflective, like giving me things to reflect on, because sometimes I'm so wired that I don't stop to think about what I need, because I'm trying to calm my nervous system, and anything I can do, I'm grabbing this and that. And maybe if I go to the store, I feel better. Maybe if I go for a drive, and I'm doing all the things to try and calm down here, I'm not in, it brings me into my thoughts, and then reminds me. And then I have like a close friend that I wouldn't recommend this if you're not really, really close, but if you're really close, like I said, she said, what can, you know, I do to help you? But some of my friends can be like, what are, you know, it sounds like things are really hard. Because they know I have a list. What is something you can do to take care of yourself right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then
yeah, go ahead.
and then remind me, the friends that know too, remind me about my nervous system, right? Like, how they ask me about how my body, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or I have one friend that when I say I'm not doing well, she says, can we take some breaths together? She's like, I'll give you time. And then I like breathe and I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and just along the lines of people alongside knowing the specific things that they can do to help. I've told many people in my life I'm not spontaneous. So if we're going to plan a coffee or a get together, it needs to be weeks, if not months in advance. So I'll have friends that just say, they already know right out of the gate. So they say, I'd love to go for coffee with you. Is there a time in the next few weeks or maybe next month? And like, it completely disarms me.
Yeah.
It also makes me more willing to, pick up their phone calls. I'm not a phone call person, but if I feel safe and I feel heard in terms of my boundaries, I'm much more likely to actually pick up the phone. So, just little tiny things like that make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable the difference that a small gesture that might seem like not a big deal to someone can mean everything to us, especially in our darkest hours. And the other great tip that I heard is if you have a friend that struggles, when they're in a better place, that is the time to maybe have a conversation and ask them, what are the things that you struggle with and how can I help you? I want to help, because chances are if you wait until that friend is in their darkest hour, they're not going to pick up the phone and they're not going to be able to let you know how you can help them most. So that's another tip, which I thought was fantastic. And then I've often heard, I've left 8 messages. I got no response. Do they want me to call? Do they not want me to call? Am I bothering them? At what point do I give up? And I can only speak for myself, but I want those people to know that I listen to all of their calls. I get their messages of love and support. And even though they might feel like I'm not appreciating or responding, I've heard it sort of compared to a love tank. And when those messages or those cards come in, they almost fill up my tank to the point where on my darker days, I go back to that and I can draw from that well of love. And I've also been able to explain to people, how hard and overwhelming it can be to respond to a text or an email or a phone call. Yeah. And so thank goodness they don't take it personally. I've actually apologized to people in the past for just going completely dark on them. But I've thankfully had the chance to explain now what was going on, and that my lack of response was actually nothing to do with them. It was all to do with me just trying to survive and get through the day. So
I think that's a good life tip that you just touched on. I read it recently, like 99% chance it's not about you.
Yeah.
Right? Like our
exactly.
You're right. Like other people have things going on or whatever. And me to the opposite of not retreating, of clinging, right? I've had friends, they notice that when I get really anxious, I apologize a lot. Like, sorry to bother you. Or I'll ask them if they want to do something and I'll be like, but you don't have to. Or it probably isn't going to work for you. Like, and so they've said, like, I love this thing, and a group of us, we now do it regularly, but like, we joke, like, either we say, it started with, you don't have to apologize for that, but now we just actually say, we kindly reject your apology.
Yes, I've heard that, actually.
Because we know, like, it's not needed. Instead of just saying, oh, that's okay, like recognizing that, it's a weird place to be in, to be needy or whatever. But I just love that she's like, I don't accept that apology because it's not needed, or something like that. I really, really love that. It's so good.
And I've also felt guilty for needing or accepting help from people, people genuinely care and they genuinely want to help. And so we should let them do that and let, you
Yes.
know, my husband and his father-in-law, they always argue over the check at dinner at a restaurant. And they always have this line, don't rob me of the joy of treating you to dinner. So it's almost that concept. Some people really do. It would mean nothing more to them than to know that they've been able to help us in our time of need. So I guess we don't want to ever rob someone of the joy of being able to help us. If it's something as simple as picking my kids up from school when they were younger, it's okay to have hard days, and it's okay that that overwhelms you. It doesn't make you any less of a person or a mom. And so I think if we're more gentle with ourselves and the fact that it's okay to need help and to accept help. So I need to remind myself of that.
Yes. And I love that. I had my therapist said, because also we get stuck in negative thinking, right? Our brains hold on to those negative things and thought patterns. And she said, you know, would you be open to letting people surprise you, letting people show up for you and just, they might surprise you, like giving people an opportunity. Like, I think that's what I do in the text when I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Oh no, you don't have, like, you don't even give them the opportunity. It's like, I'm so scared that someone's going to reject me. That I like set up these walls, right? No worries. Hate to bother you. So I annoy myself sometimes because I'm like, you don't need to do that. And just, you know, it's the same thing with canceling, or if I have to do things like that, let people surprise me with the response instead of making a whole excuse, right? Yeah, I agree with those 100%. They're so good. Yeah, do we want to get into reading with some of our brilliant community shared with us?
They're all so fantastic. And, you know, we also shared community comments in our last episode about things that aren't so helpful. And I'll echo what I said then, that all of these are fantastic. So here's a very simple but powerful one. This has been very helpful to this person if someone has been present consistently.
Yes.
And I couldn't agree more, because sometimes people show up at the beginning or maybe at the end, or we're so fearful that it's going to get so messy and hard that they're going to, you know, take off halfway through. So to have someone be there through the good times and the bad, that's huge.
Yeah. I have a beautiful one that, I have to admit I did cry over. And I know this woman, she's an amazing woman. And she says, I'll sit with you in the dark for as long as it takes until you tell me you can feel the light. That's so powerful to me, because it's like, as long as, you know, as long as you want, and you tell me, like,
and not when they think the light should come back, or not when they think you're better, but when you, on your time, in your time.
Yes.
That's amazing. All right, I have two here that are the same and so important, but it's, they listened, validated me, and were empathetic. And then the other one is the same in capital letters, validation. And I know we touched on this, just to be heard and our feelings not be, you know, dismissed or invalidated or diminished, but just for someone to listen and really hear.
Yeah. I love this one so much. I believe in you and I'm here for you. Aww. You are so brave for battling this every day. I love that they said, Oh, yes.
Okay, I have another one. And we had just finished talking about this, but just tangible ways to help. Can I bring you food? Can I come over and spend time with you? You know, versus let me know if you need anything. And I think the difference there is, one, puts the onus on us to reach back out with what we need. And the other one is just, I'm coming over, I'm dropping something at your door, whether you want it or not. And if it's, a chai tea latte, that's what it's going to be. Or if it's a week's worth of groceries, but
it will be sitting there when you feel ready to open the door.
Open that door. Hopefully it doesn't spoil.
Watch you leave.
And then one more from the same amazing person who is actually, I know quite well, when they feel validated just about their struggle, and that there's empathy, and that the care is expressed. So someone actually lets them know, I'm here, I heard you, and I care for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going through this together. I'll be there with you. Another person says follow up and check in days and weeks later, or on a big day. Like, some people know there's certain times of the year, because even though we don't necessarily remember, I find, the certain months that I used to get depressed, or there used to be the switch for me because I'm quite cyclical. My body remembers. And so I can't figure out why I'm sluggish, or why, like, physically there's something, I feel unsteady, and or if something traumatic or hard happened that day or that week, to remember, even a year or 2 years later. Like, I know people, I have a friend that checks in the middle of July, because that was when I got my diagnosis 11 years ago. A friend of mine lost her father, and she was worried about the winter because that's a darker time for her, or whatever. And another friend asked her what she needed, and like, do you want us to set up meals, or do you want to? And she said, beautiful things bring me hope. I would love flowers. So she set up for her where once a month she would have flowers brought to her. And now we've just done this for another friend, and just like we have it set up for a year.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the next comment made me cry. I'll hold it together, I hope, right now, but it's so beautiful. We're with you all the way through this. Oof. I know you had read a similar comment, just all the way through. And then the last one here is praying. And so I'm a woman of faith. I believe in the power of prayer. And so to know that someone is taking the time to pray for me daily means the world to me. And so that's just another way that someone can be specific and help me.
Yeah.
But I mean, these were all amazing. Every single response we got, it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm just checking a few more. Not judging, because sometimes, especially, I know we experience hypomania, but in mania, but even in hypomania, just to give us more grace, because we're impulsive. I make decisions, and sometimes I feel like I need to make a list of like people to apologize or whatever. And I know that I sometimes, like, I'll say to my partner, my husband, I already feel the agitation. I feel anxious. I feel frustrated and angry. I just am like, not to give me permission to be awful, but can I put a blanket apology if, remind me if I'm, being terrible, but I just want to put a blanket apology because I can tell I'm not going to be able to be my best self today. And because otherwise I feel like I have to say sorry all the time. And then I don't say sorry because I'm mad that I have to say sorry. and then just also like our shame of things. And it doesn't mean like excuse the behavior, but understand that some of the things that are easy for you to control are not for us. Like some of the things that, and I might even know in my head, oh, this might hurt someone's feelings, like right in the moment, or something I've said. I cannot explain to people that don't have bipolar disorder the urgency and the I'll say like, I won't criticize how so-and-so is making dinner or something like that. It's almost like the relief of saying it, and then there's the regret too, right? So
Yeah.
I just it's like so hard to not do the things, right? And so
Yeah.
just understanding and understanding that it's not, it might be out of character for me. It doesn't, if I, when I'm like that, that might not, yeah, hold it against me, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but more grace and understanding in those times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to see real quick.
Yeah. Any other good
Oh,
ones?
someone says, I love that a couple people were like, you know, someone said, can I bring you a cheeseburger and let's watch our favorite show? And then I had one of my besties was like, she just wrote cheese dip question mark, because that's kind of a thing, like cheese dip brings her.
Oh,
Yeah. And then some people like just breathe and
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love this.
Read it. Read it.
Sorry, it's just there was just so many. You can only control you. Allow yourself to let go of the uncontrollables and focus on what you want to and need to succeed. And then you're okay just the way you are.
Love that one. I'll add one in from my husband. He didn't
Yeah.
answer the poll, but my spouse, when I'm having a bad day or I am feeling off or agitated, the best thing he can say to me is, give yourself a break. Take the pressure off. You're not going to feel like this all the time. Do you need a nap? Go take it gives me complete permission to just be without, the expectation that within an hour or two I need to be back to my old self. Just whenever, because I'll often beat myself up and think, what's my problem? I'm not being an equal contributor
Or I'm
as a
not
wife
productive,
or a mom. And he's just
or I
like,
did this today.
yeah, he's just complete pressure off. He goes, give yourself a break.
A friend recently, actually just yesterday, on Marco Polo, she was answering because I was just like, I just can't shake this, like feeling like I'm on unsteady ground or new. It's not quite a depression. It's not quite mania. I'm not settling in, and and I get frustrated this season because usually it was the fun manic season for a few weeks, and I don't get that anymore. And I honestly, I miss parts of it. I know I'm better off and the treatment plan, not letting it get there because of the crash. But
Yeah.
and also like with COVID and what is normal and just everything.
Yeah.
She just said, she was joking that she used to tell her son, they used to joke when he had a bad day at high school, well, did you get pants today? And he's like, and he'd be like, nope. And she'd be like, well, it's a good day if you still have your pants on. And so she said to me, so now we're joking, like pants are on, right? But she also said, let's not shoot for happy or brilliant or making this the best day of your life. She's like, let's just, be comfortable and be okay with mediocrity.
Exactly.
Sometimes,
Yes.
like you're going to have a mediocre day or a bad day. And just if you strive for the mediocre day, it's only going to get, and I know that sounds kind of, sad, but it just gives you permission. And this is one of my favorite things that I've adapted. And because I always struggle, and it's an overthinking thing, and it's hard when everyone's like, have a great day, have a fantastic weekend, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But I remember one time, I think it might have been our pastor when we were actually talking about mental health.
Yeah.
He just said, have a day.
Yeah.
And you can say, I hope, I can hope these things for you, or I just say, have a day. And if, have a good day. And if you don't, that's okay too. Or I say, have a day, whatever that brings you.
I was just going to say, I think you said that to me a couple days ago. Have a great weekend. And if not, have a weekend. And I think in our Christmas episode last year, you know, we were very careful because last Christmas was very different for a lot of people. So we just said, you know,
Have a Christmas.
have a Christmas, have a holiday season. And one other thing that you're very wise, my co-host. We see it everywhere. Good vibes only. Good vibes only. And I think we're going to change it to all vibes welcome.
All vibes welcome.
You know, because we have to acknowledge there's so many people. The vibes that day when they're looking at that are anything but good vibes only. So I think for all of us to just take a deep breath and be gentle with ourselves and know that, you know, feelings aren't constant. They will change. And, you know, like my husband says, you're not always going to feel this way. So just take the pressure off, take a deep breath, go make yourself a coffee and just be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And so as we've wrap up the episode, I think, just being with us, showing up, right? And then just relentlessly over and over and over again, empathetically witnessing each other's pain. It will really honestly save lives. And so thanks for being with us. If you have any other ideas, or we're going to plan to ask these questions a lot because I feel like it's something that really resonated with us and with you too. So this is Bipolar.
This is Bipolar.